Coming up in the news, the Bahamas to welcome the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge in a few hours. 10 students arraigned before the court and granted bail on the charge of fighting. And officers distributing food parcels in recognition of Food Month. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening all, I'm Ramiko Knowles. Thank you so much for tuning in. Topping the news in just a matter of hours, the Bahamas will be graced by royalty. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge will arrive in the nation's capital tomorrow afternoon for a 2-day visit. The visit will include stops here in Grand Bahama and Abaco as well.
Some years since the last royal visit, and residents weigh in on the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge visiting Grand Bahama. Some say they are excited, and this can be the way forward.
I feel it's a good opportunity here for our country. I read some stuff saying that with them coming here to the country, it's gonna, I guess, help us with more publicity.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, they're the mother of the nation. They've been governing us for quite a number of years until the PLP took over. They did a fairly good job, and we would welcome them and do our best to make them feel at home.
When I was a small boy, one time ago, I used to be happy when the Queen come to the Bahamas. And I'm grown now, so it still remains. I like to see the royal family come.
It's a good thing to see. We hear a lot about it, but we don't usually see them, so it'll be good for the people to actually, see what everyone's talking about.
She might open our government eyes, so I feel like it probably would make a difference.
I just think it'll be good publicity for the island. They're gonna go down for the Carl Vita thing, right? Yeah, I think it'll be good. I'm just visiting here, but I think it'll be good.
Now, there were mixed views. Some say they are not excited, expressing that the visit should have a purpose.
I'm not excited, really, unless they come in to do something for the Bahamas, Freeport in general. Then we'll see.
I'm not too much in favor of it, because if we were benefiting financially as a people from it, I would be happy, but we're not.
I hope they see the airport. I hope they see, all the derelict buildings.
I don't see what the visit is. Visit is only benefiting them, really. It's just them coming on a vacation, and the young people who ever putting on a show for them. I don't see how it's going to benefit us, especially the young people at all.
Now, the ZNS Network will be providing live coverage of the royal visit beginning this Thursday. I'm Azra Quant, ZNS Network News.
Thanks, Aja. Well, the royal couple arrive in Grand Bahama on Saturday. They will make a stop at the Grand Bahama Children's Home to view the improvement made to the facility that serves as a safe haven for abused, neglected, and abandoned children in the community. Tonight, we will hear from Lady Henrietta St. George, who is currently in London. She has been at the center of the operations of the home for decades. She says she's honored that the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge will stop by to visit the home. The Grand Bahama Children's Home will receive a special visit from the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, William and Kate Middleton. Wife of the late Edward St. George, Lady Henrietta St. George, says her involvement with the Grand Bahama Children's Home began shortly after 1980, and she's honored that they are coming to visit.
I think that is a great honor for us. It's a great honor for Grand Bahama. It's a great honor that the government has chosen us, for them to come to. And sadly, I can't be there because I am trying to organize my mother's memorial service, and she died, and she was 101 years old. And she served the Queen for her whole reign. So otherwise, I would be on Grand Bahama.
The residential home services Grand Bahama and, by extension, the Northern Bahamas. Lady St. George shares how she became a part of it.
Quite soon after I arrived, a member of the Grand Bahama Children's Home Committee came to see me in our house and said she had to leave the island. She had some children living with her, and there were some other children dotted around, the town, and would I please take it over and find a building and run it. So I asked my husband if I could have a building, and he gave me an empty building on Jobson Avenue.
The first home was on Jobson Avenue, but it is now at a new location and a more modern facility in Trip Circle, a move that was spearheaded by Lady St. George.
The old home was an old building, very long and thin. It was uninsulated, so it was freezing cold in winter and boiling hot in summer. And it really wasn't that suitable for a children's home. So my husband and I had built this village in the back in Trip Lane, and the children's home was the last building to be built there.
The area is now a care village with a PACE center for pregnant teens, a school for at-risk youth, and various care homes. Lady St. George says she remembers many of the children who were in her care.
And I still know lots of them, and they are quite grown up now, and a lot of them have children of their own. Sometimes they used to ask me why I was doing it. And I said, well, the thing is, I'm going to care for you now because you can't care for yourselves. And when I'm old, you're going to care for me. So I guess I'll have to come back to Grand Bahama in my old age.
And although she is unable to be in Grand Bahama for the arrival of the royals, she's hoping that all goes well. In addition, she has this message to those who support the home.
I would say, you know, please hold it dear, please support it. And it's a very, very important part of Grand Bahama. It's always been supported by the government and the Port Authority and us and the wider community.
Well, in other news, executives of the Grand Bahama Port Authority joining panel discussions at the 23rd Annual Grand Bahama Business Outlook to present on the topic of revitalizing Grand Bahama's economy. Three key members of the Grand Bahama Port Authority speaking on Grand Bahama's growth at the 23rd Annual Business Outlook. Chief Operating Officer Filcher Grant opening up on the surge associated with Hurricane Dorian, which completely destroyed the Grand Bahama Utility Company's well fields. As a result, the Grand Bahama Utility Company invested millions into a new reverse osmosis system for the island.
So we looked at our plans and we had to rebuild and revitalize, like so many of you had, to ensure that we had a plan that would not only return potability, but give us resilience, that we wouldn't find ourselves in a position where we had potable water for a long time. And so we found our new water sources, and we made a $5 million investment in a reverse osmosis system to be able to restore potability to the island. And it was a long journey. And we thank the people of Grand Bahama for walking with us, holding our hands to that journey.
In the wake of Hurricane Dorian, there was an increase of derelict vehicles on the streets of Grand Bahama. Vice President of Buildings and Development Services, Nikira Wilchcomb, says it was an unprecedented amount, one like they've never seen. She says the first thing they did was gather all the vehicles into one location.
We then looked also at companies that could possibly offer services, because we don't want to get into the habit of just stockpiling. And so we wanted companies to become engaged with us to ensure that these cars were eventually exported. I'm told that there are at least 40,000 cars in the Starlight State around the island. So it's an enormous task that cannot be done overnight. And so we are pleased to say now that there are two companies that are involved, two budding entrepreneurs that are involved in this recycling business for derelict vehicles.
There has also been an increase in derelict buildings. Wilchcomb says there is an ongoing effort to see how quickly they can demolish those structures, but it is a process. She says in most cases, their hands are tied.
One of the things that we have sought to work on within the last few years is amending the building and sanitary code bylaws that will allow us to either recoup the cost very soon if we were to take on the demolition ourselves as the Grand Bahama Port Authority, and to also look at other means by which we can demolish these structures. So right now, structures can only be demolished because if they're found to be unstructurally sound. And so we are, definitely anxious, and I'm pleased that the minister would have mentioned that they are working with us to look at these bylaws and the amendments as well as the proposed additions to address these issues.
A hot button topic as of recent is investor confidence in Freeport. Chief Investment Officer for the Port Authority, Derek Newbold, says they are far from where they were in 2019.
In an effort to rebuild investor confidence, we spent a great deal of time speaking with investors, communicating with them on a consistent basis. And these were investors who were actually working on projects that were at an advanced stage in the project cycle. And they were having second thoughts about moving forward. Where we are now is far different from where we were in 2019. As the Deputy Prime Minister said, there's now evidence of renewed interest in Freeport from investors. And we certainly expect that trend to continue. I think we can all agree that in the aftermath of Dorian, that investor confidence was not where any of us would have liked it to be. But that was expected given the circumstances. In an effort to rebuild investor confidence, we spent a great deal of time speaking with investors, communicating with them on a consistent basis. And these were investors who were actually working on projects that were at an advanced stage in the project cycle. And they were having second thoughts about moving forward.
Port officials say there are major projects in the pipeline for Freeport, and announcements are soon to come. Now to news from the court. 10 male students of the Jack Haywood High School hauled before the court this past Monday on the charge of fighting. The juveniles all appearing before Deputy Chief Magistrate Debbie Ferguson in court number 1. They were each given bail in the amount of $1,000 with one suretor. These charges are reportedly linked to an incident that occurred on the school campus about a week ago. A male suffered a seizure after he was allegedly struck over his head over the eye with a brass knuckle. The 10 students are expected before the juvenile panel in about 3 weeks. That's on April 12th. Now, given the recent uptick in violence in schools, we spoke to the Assistant Commissioner of Police, Theophilus Cunningham, about the presence of police officers on schools' campuses.
We have done just that. We have utilized our firefighters, who has put on some positive demonstrations for them, and our K9 unit with the dogs. That has been going quite well. And we have been doing some presentations by the commanders themselves to ensure that the youth understand that there's a better way than to commit a crime, that crime doesn't pay, and that in order to be good at something, you have to work hard and study.
ACP Cunningham says public safety is of paramount importance, noting that they do carry out periodic checks in the interest of safety. He has this bit of advice for students.
If you want to be good at something, you must practice and work hard. That failure is not an option. And if you fail, try again until you succeed.
Still in the crime beat, police say a large quantity of illegal ammunition was taken off the streets of Grand Bahama yesterday. Police tell us that around 11 a.m. Tuesday, a team of drug enforcement officers acting on intelligence went to a Drake Avenue where they discovered in bushes an assortment of illegal ammunition concealed in a gray duffel bag. Police say it was a total of 267 live rounds of ammunition. No arrest was made, and the matter remains under investigation. Now, that group of Cuban migrants who were brought to Grand Bahama yesterday on board a U.S. Coast Guard vessel had their day in court. The 28 Cuban nationals who were found in the area of Kisau Bank on Sunday were arraigned before Deputy Chief Magistrate Debbie Ferguson on the charge of illegal landing. All of the migrants were convicted and ordered deported. They were turned over to the Immigration Department and will be transported to the Carmichael Road Detention Center for deportation procedures. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Stay with us. There's more news when we come back.